I don't know where to start and where to begin, so I'll try to pass this as soon as I can. Well, let me tell you a little bit before that. I was in school in piano performance and decided, I'm Tom Becker, sorry. I'm a keyboardist. And I decided I need some money, so I went with a group to Thule, Greenland, where there was 2,000 men and 8 women. And so I decided to get out of that group and come down to New Orleans, and I was supposed to join a group there that was making really good money. And they made a mistake of going down to Bourbon Street, and I sat in with Granny's Bathwater. And Ships came up after I sat in and said, "Hey, you want to go with us? $700 a week, all expenses paid, backing Martha Reeves." That's just what I needed, to get out. Yeah. Well, I paid $200 to get out of the group. Everybody knows that, I guess. 3 months later. But I joined Granny's about 3 different times, I think. But these guys are going to talk about Granny's. I'm going to talk a little bit about Springfield, Missouri, and what I found here. Maybe. I was able to do a rag gig. I didn't know any rags, but I came down here and practiced 6 hours a day and able to get 4 hours of rag time down by the end of the summer. Started my first jazz trio here, and gave me this place is like flypaper. You can't get away from it. And I just have a lot of friends here, and it's just hard to get away. I think I better pass this.
Well, I was in the 7th grade or 8th grade and started a little band. Well, I didn't start it, but I was in a band with 2 of my neighbors, Larry Lee and Hugh Walpole. And so that's how I got started. We migrated into other bands, mostly, I guess, with no names that I recall, with Mark Morton and different people. Eventually, by my senior year in high school, Bunge had come into the picture and started Louie and the 7 Days. And we went with that and just had an incredible time. We went to Vietnam and then to the Caribbean. And then in '67, that band broke up after 2 years. And then...
Go to Vietnam?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Tell them.
I just did.
No, I can't hear.
So we were in different bands for 2 or 3 years. Larry went in the Navy, and Mike went into the National Guard for a while. And then Mike started Granny's Bathwater as a blues band, and the original members were Dave Pease down there on the end on bass, Bunge, John Dillon on guitar, and Lloyd on drums. And then after a couple of months, I joined, and John Dillon left, and John Goen started on guitar. So that was in 1970. And in '72, Rick and Larry joined, Rick Weaver and Larry Getz, and Benny Mahan. And that was the horn band version of Granny's. It was together about 2 years. And then Mike was killed in 1976 in July. And the band changed a little bit, quite a bit actually. Jason LeMaster took both Mike and John R.'s place. And Carmine Delegati came in from New York, and Ike came from, I guess, Miami at that time. Well, Detroit. I worked with Ike and Carmine in Detroit in 1970. And I encouraged them to come to Springfield, which I always regretted encouraging them to come here, but they.
Somebody joined us in Chicago.
Yeah, that's right.
We fired Bobby out.
Yeah, you can tell that part, Larry.
Thank you, Bill.
I'll just
Excuse me.
I'll just go ahead and quit now and.
Straighten things up.
My name is Rick Weaver, and I'm a trombone player. And I guess the first thing that I need to say is that when Larry gets this mic, Larry lies. I mean, he's a great player, but yeah. I don't know if his memory's failing. I don't know.
Hell, my
He's
failing. Yours is. You're in denial.
There is a kernel of truth to most everything.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not going to tell my story anyhow.
Okay, good. I got started. I guess the way I got involved with Granny's was I transferred from the University of Missouri in Columbia to Drury to play as a music major for Don Vern Joseph at Drury. And when I came in town, of course, I met Bill. I think you were playing in the jazz orchestra. And I met John R., who was in Turner Hall, and which was a quite interesting time. And I saw this poster on the wall, and it said Granny's Bathwater, and I was like, what in the world? But I got to check this out. And these guys were playing at that time. The band that I heard was Bill and Mike, John R., Don Ships, and Lloyd, right? And they played like I don't know, it was like in an old gym or something. It was a nighttime gig, and it was.
I have no idea where that was. It was all over town.
Yeah, and
a different place every night.
Right, exactly. And I think that night Greg Solomon sat in, and I remember hearing him.
Yeah.
But I was totally impressed. It wasn't the typical kind of garage band that I had heard. It wasn't. They did their own stuff. People really enjoyed it. I mean, I was totally taken by it. And Bill asked me one day, or told me, that Benny Mahan and his trio, I think at the time, was playing at the Executive Lounge down on Glenstone and somewhere.
That was what it was called.
Right, Executive, right. And Bill said, Benny's playing down there, and some of the guys from Granny's are coming down there, and we're going to have a jam session. And he said, this guy named Larry Getz is coming, and I didn't know Larry at all. And so anyway, we wind up all filtering to this little club, and it was actually downstairs at this club. And it was a tiny, tiny little place. And I had never met Benny. I had never met any of these guys. And when I went down, Benny was playing, I don't know, I Shot the Sheriff or something, and I was like, okay, cool. And I couldn't figure out how we were going to do a jam session, I mean, literally the room was smaller than this, and there was no room. Oh, yeah.
It was like a living room.
Yeah, exactly.
There's one photo of it.
That's what it
Is
was
that
called.
right?
Somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, here's like 8 guys, and we get together, and we're taking our horns apart, and we're getting ready to go, and we have to move tables around. And luckily, I guess for us, there was only about 3 people in the joint, so there was nobody there. So I don't know, about 11 or so, we started playing, and Benny looks over and says, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know, whatever." And he said, "Why don't we do Kansas City?" Yeah. And Kansas City was a tune that all of us knew. I mean, we had all played it. I mean, if you've played Kansas City at some time in your life. So we're going to pick a key. It was key C, I think it was, and we kicked it off, and it was. What was amazing about it is, it took off, and it was the tempo was great, and Larry reaches over and sticks his horn in my ear, and he's going da 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 da, and then I join my part, and then Bill gets his part, and then Mike gets his part, and within probably 8 bars, we had a whole, it was like compositions while you wait, you know. But what was so unique about that experience was it was just so much fun. I mean, it seemed to me that we would just had this connection. It was like we all knew what the other one was going to do before he did it, and that's a really fun way to play. And after we got finished that night, you know, Benny was like, of course, we were all just gassed that you know that it turned out the way it did. And Benny was like, you know, come on over to my house, man. We can't let this go. We got to think of something, you know. We got to do something with this. And so I don't know how we got there, but we got over to Benny's house. And we all pile into his front living room. And then I see this door open, it's about this far. And it's Sheila, his wife, and she's like in bed. It's 2:30 in the morning. And, you know, here's a bunch of guys in the front room, and we're just making all kind of noise and drink. I mean, you know, and Benny kind of got his. Yeah, exactly. No, but so, you know, and I recall that Larry was like, yeah, we got to do this. And, hey, I can get us a gig in 2 weeks at Alan Glynn's restaurant in Panama City, Florida. Right. You know, and I'm going, dude, man, I'm going to quit school. This is
Benny quit his job. He's making $500 a week.
Yeah, I mean, that's how addictive the group was. I mean, we were all just ready to drop everything we did and go do this. And so for about the next, I don't know, Bill, a month or two, we gathered at a place, I think it's called The Ranch, just outside of town. Yeah. And there's some funny stories there. We rehearsed. There's a bunch of funny. Next time. Yeah, exactly. One about a cattle guard, I recall. Yeah.
Tell what happened when they go to bust us.
No. Oh, you've heard that one, yeah. Some of you were probably there. But anyway, we spent the next few weeks. Bill wrote out all the charts that we were going to do, and we were kind of preparing. We had a gig with. At that time, Family Tree, which later the Ozark Mountain Daredevils, and these guys were playing at the Landers Theater. Right. So we were, you know, rehearsing 6-8 hours a day, you know, just putting the show together. And obviously we played the Landers gig. One of the highlights for me was when Twiggy came down the staircase in the silver sequined singing Just a Gigolo.
How about, would you dance there when Ron Ginn come in?
No, the fire department got mad because everybody was smoking pot.
Everybody was smoking pot. Ron Ginn come walking down in the dressing room.
All right. When you're done, pass it to Frank.
Y'all sound really good. No, it's Frank. Turn around, walk out.
So, at any rate, that's kind of how I got started with the band. After we did the Landers gig and rehearsed quite a while, we loaded up the truck and we headed to Panama City, Florida, and the only thing I'll mention about that, our very first gig, we'd not played anywhere, and Bill had written this chart, a big horn section called Joe Tex, and it started like getting hit in the face with a rogue wave. I mean, it was like ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-da-da, and it was about 9,000 decimals. And so we go in this restaurant, and we're loading up. We got to make the stage a little bigger and rearrange some stuff. And we get in there, and I'm looking around, and all these people, you know, they got couples, little couples, and they got their little drinks and lobster forks and all this stuff. And it's a nice, quiet dinner club. And we came up, and Benny turns around, and he looks at us, and he goes, "Joe Tex," and I'm like, dude, you know, okay. And so, you know, he kicks it off, and I mean, boom. In the back of this restaurant, it was all glass in the back. So we were standing on the stage, and we're looking straight out the glass in the back, looking directly at the ocean. It was gorgeous from our view. And he kicked off Joe Tex, and we blew all I saw was the glass in the back bow, you know. All right, and every fork in the place dropped, you know. I mean, every person was like, God almighty, what was that? Yeah, and the club owner, Glenn McElroy, comes jumping over the bar and runs up going, turn that shit down, you know. And if you know the tune, Joe Tex, there's no way to turn it down. You can't. I mean, you can't play that, song. You hit it or you don't hit it. So, and the tune, it ends as abruptly as it begins, and it was over. Of course, and then Benny started playing I don't know, Satin Doll, or we did some dinner music stuff. But that was our first gig, and it's been a pleasure playing with these guys, and wonderful time. And I'm going to skip Larry.
Hey, Odell. My name is Larry Getz, and I was the trumpet player and the, I guess, booking agent? Yeah. And I had the most bar bills. All they ever would do was bitch. We'd play the Ivanhoe in New Orleans, and we made, $1,400 a week?
2,400, and the bar tab was 26.
Well, you got to get your mindset just right to play with this band, And so about 4 or 5 drinks before the gig, and then 3 or 4 while you're playing, 4 or 5 on the break. So it adds up. But anyhow, I got to tell 2 stories, and I can't pass this one up. And this is by Mr. Hicks down here. When we first got to Panama City, I had worked down there for 2 years with a guy named Tommy Shockley, and we literally packed these 2 nightclubs. First, Alan Glenn's, where we played, the next year, the Breakers, and it was packed every night. People were lined up, hundreds of them in the parking lot. He sang just like Tom Jones and Engelbert Humperdinck, and y'all remember Gary Puckett and the Union Gap? Well, he was a good singer, and Tom could do these songs. Like, young girl, get out of it, you know what. Anyhow, I booked us down there, and we couldn't find a place to stay when we first got there, so we went to this place called Phillips Inlet at Pirates Cove. It was out on the west side of town. And so the first night we were there, we got all these records, and we're playing them, and we're drinking.
You were drinking.
Everybody's drinking, especially Mr. Hicks, who doesn't drink. So Lloyd's sitting there, he says, I'll go get some more record albums. Well, that's the last thing we've seen of Lloyd. Is this okay to tell this? Okay. It's nothing bad. Anyone could have did this, So I guess what happened was Lloyd started back to our trailer where we lived. Well, Lloyd went into the resort manager's trailer, went to the back bedroom. Did you take your clothes off? No. Okay. But he had hair down to his butt. And he goes to bed. Well, the manager's wife gets up, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. She goes back because their son was coming in that night from college. And I guess they thought it was their son come in, so it didn't bother them when Lloyd come in their trailer. So he's back there asleep. And this old man that runs, this is the meanest looking son of a bitch you ever seen. He had more pimples than whatever. He had a shrimp boat and all that crap, But, all right, I'm not supposed to cuss. Crap is a human function. Anyhow, he wakes Lloyd up, pulls the covers off of him, and smacks him on the butt with a machete. So Lloyd told me, Lloyd says, I woke up, and I thought I was having a nightmare. I went, yeah. He just goes back to sleep. So the old boy jerks the cover off of him again, smacks him on the ass with a machete, and then sticks it in his chest. Well, Lloyd woke up then. They come and get me. I'm supposedly spokesman for this band. I got stuck with that. And the guy comes over and said, tell Mr. Getz to come to the door. So I went to the door, and his wife is there and said, well, you got to come over here. I go over there, and there's a county sheriff. And Lloyd's standing on the steps crying. I had to say it. You were crying. And I go, what in the hell's going on? Lloyd, get me out of this. You're going to cut my head off and all this stuff. Well, they didn't know who the hell Lloyd was. Lloyd didn't know who they were because he was drunk. You know. So anyhow, it all. But what was funny, we were there for like 2 or 3 weeks. I walked up one night to the bathroom and Bill Jones in there brushing his teeth. And I got my face right up against the window and like that. And Bill about ate that toothbrush. I'm not kidding you. Scared the hell out of him. But anyhow, every time Lloyd would be walking across the lawn where we was living, and this old man was up there, the old man would look at him and go, hee hee hee, like that. And Lloyd would hide his face. But anyhow, and the other story, I got to tell this. We were all on our way, probably in 73, something like that, go to Panama City and play the Downtown Club. They had 2 of them then, the Breakers. And so it was me and Ricky and Jimmy Prima and Benny Mayhem. We're in Benny's old, 62 Pontiac? 66? Yeah, wide body executive, sure. So I'm not going to say what was going on, but Rick and Jimmy were in the back seat, and they had a shoestring about this long. It was leather, and one of them would tie 1 or 2 knots in it and give it to the other guy, and he would try to untie the shoestring.
See, I told you Larry lied.
No, I'm not lying. It's the truth. And Jimmy would tie a knot in his head, and he'd go, you know. So anyhow, we finally get to Panama City, and we're asleep. And it's about 5 in the morning, and this maid comes up. She knocks on the door. I wake up. She said, "Your car's on fire." I went, holy crap, you know. So I get up, I go out there, and the front seat is almost burnt out of Benny's car. So, and nothing I can do. So I look over, I see a water hose. And I pulled the water hose over there and stuck it through the window and rolled the window up on it and slammed the door and turned the water on. Well, it went back to bed. You know, hell, it's 5 in the morning. So about 10:30 or 11, I wake up and I go, well, I better go look at that car. So I looked out the window. The tires are flat, and the water's squirting out the doors. The whole damn car was full of water. So anyhow, we pulled all the seat out, and we had to go to Dothan, Alabama after that and play.
Well, let me add this
What?
to this story. Benny used to take this basketball. You know, we play, you know, wherever the basketball goals was. So you get out there and play basketball. So he had this basketball in the car. Okay, so but after the sheet got burned up, okay, Benny grabbed the basketball and sat on it, and that was the new seat for him to drop.
With the luggage. Yeah. We had the luggage for the backrest. So we went and played Dothan like that. We went to Memphis where we met Larry Lee, and we recorded some stuff up there at the Arden Studios.
We rode all the way back from Florida to Springfield. I was in that car, sitting in the back seat, had lots of room in the back. You know, I mean, you could stretch way out.
Yeah.
But Benny is sitting on this basketball.
Driving.
Benny wasn't very tall anyway, but you know, when a car passed him, it would be about right here, you know, and people would go by us, and everybody go, what in the world? But I can tell you, man, about 18 hours of sitting on a basketball is not a good plan for your rear end.
At least it wasn't a football.
It wasn't a football, right?
Benny was my best friend. I would come up here, I lived in Joplin, I'd come up here and sit in with bands. No place to stay, no money to rent a room. I would hang out in the Sycamore Inn because I wouldn't give a damn if it rained, sleet, or snow. Benny would always come to the Sycamore Inn sometime during the night. And he'd walk in there and I'd be sitting there, hey, he said, well, you need a place to stay? I said, yeah. So I'd go home with him, stay on his couch. And Benny's mother would not wake him up for hell or high water before 2 o'clock in the evening. If you called 20 times, she would not wake him up. And it was, I love that guy, I really did. We had more fun. One morning we were in the Funky Butts down in New Orleans. This was like a jazz bar. A good friend of mine owned it. and we're in there drinking till like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. This went on every night in New Orleans. We would have to go to a house in the swamp to recoup from playing there for like 3 or 4 weeks. They'd pay us more money if we played 7 days a week. But anyhow, I'm walking home. We lived on Royal Street at Cindy Bird's apartment. And I'm going down there, and there's these trash cans. I look, and there's a body laying on them, covered up with cardboard boxes. And I just kept walking, and I turned and I looked at these shoes. And I went, Jesus Christ, it's Benny. He'd gotten sleepy and just crawled up on the trash cans and pulled the cardboard boxes on him, went to sleep. And I lifted it up, and there he was. You know, hey, what do you want? You know, you need to go home. Anyhow, that's end of my stories, but it was a pleasure playing with these guys. We had more damn fun. Anyhow, and do you know what Granny's Bathwater is? Does anybody know? Well, I'll be damned. You guys don't know? Back in the early 1900s, before people had natural gas, running water, and whatever, like there's 21, 22-year-olds married, they'd live there. Their father would live there and mother, and their grandma and grandpa would live there too, in the same houses. I lived like that when I was young. And when they got ready to take a bath, they would put these buckets of water up on the old wood stove and heat them up and pour them in the bathtub. Well, then the first person to take a bath was the babies. And then they go by age. So the last person to get in the bath water was Granny.
That's some pretty funky water.
Pretty funky water. And that's where Huey Wappel come up with that name, I guess. You know. Anyhow, I'm going to pass the microphone to my friend. The what?
Granny's Bathwater is now named for a dark lager beer out of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, you know. I don't like any of that kind of beer. I really don't. Anyhow, this is Frank Westbrook. He's our godsend. Frank showed up and sat in with us. He had a farfisa, which basically was. So somebody said, well, should we hire him? I said, yeah. He shakes his ass. And the girls are like him. And I hate to, you know.
Give him the mic, Larry.
He's not doing nothing.
Oh, my God. Well, I'm Frank Westbrook, and I tell you what. These guys were a complete adventure. Okay. Now, here's a little Catholic school kid coming from Memphis, Tennessee, and what was really ironic about all of this was they were over to Ted Sturge's studio, this guy that worked for actually Nassau, and decided that he was going to build a studio. And I had, our little group had been over there and kind of doing some demos, but this guy completely tore this building and built a brand new quadraphonic studio, and Granny's was like the, you know, the house group, right, of the studio. Well, some time had passed by. I get a call from Don Ships. They're looking for a drummer. So Melvin and I had previously played in a group, and we were kind of did a chitlin circuit. You know, we backed up blues artists, O.V. Wright. We went on this chitlin circuit with, you know, with Jackie Wilson, Joe Simon, Bobby Blue Bland, and we were just backing up artists. But Melvin was a senior, so he was leaving the group. So I was 15 with those guys. So by the time I got to be like 18, 19, here's Granny's that came to Memphis to show up, and I was over there to the studio. So Ted had played a couple of tunes and had asked, can you know, come over and play some keyboards for the guys? Because I think Bill was playing keyboards on some of the recordings, and Mike had played some keyboards on some of the recordings. So Don calls me to looking for a drummer. So I gave them Melvin's number. So apparently they go over to Melvin's house. He's in the backyard, I guess, with his drum set, playing the drums in the neighborhood. So these guys go over there, and I guess they liked him. They grab him. They bring him over to the studio. Then they said that they needed a keyboard player. Okay, well, Tom was in Memphis at the time, and I had met Tom. Tom is, I'm leaving. I'm getting ready to go back up to Illinois. Okay, so it was all very new to me. And we played at this place called the Airport Lounge in Memphis, which was kind of close by the airport. So I was to come over there and kind of do an audition, and Melvin had called me, and Melvin gave them my number. So Don calls me. I come over there. I meet the guys. We all set up and everything, and we just kind of go through a couple of tunes. So we're playing and going through a couple, and it felt really great for meeting strangers, and you get on the stage and things start really happening like right away. So we kind of started our rehearsals. Bunge goes, "Hey, are you going to be available to go down to New Orleans?" I'm thinking, go down to New Orleans? I mean, like when was this? He says, next week. Next week, this is like on a Thursday or Friday that they call me. They playing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the Airport Lounge. Monday, it's in New Orleans. And I'm like, you got to be kidding, you don't have any time to do it. So, yeah, okay, I'll be glad to go, yeah. So we grab everything. We go down to New Orleans for the first, couple of weeks. These folks, I've never been on a gig where you're going to work and start at 9 o'clock. Usually you go home at about 12 or 1. No, you're going to stay there till 5:30. 7 days a week. I was like, you got to be kidding me. How much are we getting paid? Well, we get $5 a day. And that's for for eating per diem and stuff. And so we'll pay the bills and expenses, and we'll probably split up whatever we can after that. And so Odell was, when he came, Odell said, no, we're gonna put everybody on a salary. So no matter what we make, $5 a day. That's gonna be it. So when we're not working, you'll get $5 a day. So we'd go to these gigs and we wouldn't play, for a week or two waiting for a gig, and we would get our $5 a day. Well, I got real good at saving my $5 a day, because I got to eating peanut butter sandwiches, and I could get by 2 or 3 days on $1 or $2, okay? So I'm thinking, hey, I'm making money. I'm saving my at the end of the week, I got like $20, $25, and I think I'm doing great, okay? So as the band evolves, and we began to get with Martha. Okay, so Martha comes to Memphis. I end up coming up here to Springfield, Missouri. Mike Bunge goes, hey man, you wait till you get to Springfield, man. You're gonna love it up there. I'm going like, what? What do you mean? Oh, you're gonna love it up there, man. The girls up there, it's gonna be us playing and go, oh, really? Yeah. Oh, great. I'm ready to go. So we come up to Springfield. Bebops is waiting. Bebops is waiting for me. So we set up and we started playing bebops. I had no idea what I was in for, okay? This place is out in the woods someplace way down. There ain't no way anybody gonna even know you're even here. Are you kidding me now? Oh, so about 9 o'clock, we're setting up. Here it is, 9:30. These folks are coming like, where are you people coming from? Are you serious? It's packed. I mean, it's a little bitty little place anyway, but we got people standing outside. They're milling around. The band is playing. I mean, this happened to have been one of the best gigs for a group of guys after I had been there for maybe 3 or 4 weeks or so. So this whole acclamation of me in Springfield, Missouri was one huge eye-opener. And I think the most enjoyable thing was this group was one of those groups that we're going to write songs and we're going to play our stuff right off the stage. And I was like, what a great idea. Wow, you got to be kidding me. And things just gelled really well. I was a guy that had feel and really wanted to get into the technical aspects of things, just learning the piano, this, that, and the other. I can remember thinking Tom, and I'd heard Tom later, who's just a fantastic keyboard player. Tom, I had to put, why did you leave Granny's? Oh no, I had to make some money. They told me I was going to make X amount of money, and I packed my stuff from Memphis, Tennessee, and I can remember this truck that he had his organ, had his Fender Rhodes in there, and he was leaving like adios. And I was like, Tom, where you going? Champaign, Illinois. I'm going back to Upland. You got to be kidding. And you're leaving the band and then, oh yes, C.C. Ryder, who's playing with C.C. Ryder, and he's getting ready to get back. He says, no, man, I'm not making any money on this gig. And I was like, wow. I guess to me, money isn't everything. I just wanted to play, and I was so glad that these guys would even just hang out and let me play for a while. And it just was a fantastic experience. And then we went on tour with Martha. Martha Reeves, okay? We go on tour with Martha Reeves. Now, this is a whole new ball game because here's a guy in L.A., Ron Strasner, who has sent his road folks to take care of grannies. Now, we're going to do it. Now, you thought that you guys knew how to get on the road and do this and that, but now you got a real road manager now. He's going to be managing you guys, okay? And so you're not going to be able to just spend money and just go nuts and this and that and the other. So we thought. So, except for Getz, nothing stops Getz. I don't care who you are, nothing stops this guy. So anyway, we were getting to play, and I have to tell a story because Don, I love him. We both a couple of Catholic kids that, grew up in this sort of thing. We're opening night in Boston at Paul's Mall, Jazz Workshop. And here we got the muckety mucks from LA to come out and see the gig, okay? The Ron Strasner, and he brought his road manager, and here is the gig. We're getting ready to start playing. I, first time, was rooming with Don, okay? So Don is up there watching a baseball game. It is a World Series baseball game. Don is not leaving the room. I'm leaving. Don, time for the gig. It's like, the gig starts at 9 o'clock. I'm out of there. It's like 8:20. Don, I'll see you over there. I'm gone. I get over there to the gig and meet Ron Strasner, the manager of Martha, and manage Rare Earth, and manage George Clinton, and manage a slew of people that this guy managed. So we're there, he's there, Don is not. Okay, it's now 5 minutes to 9. I'm beginning to look at my watch going, where are you, Don? So here is the manager, comes up to me because I'm rooming with him. Where is Don? I have no answer for this man other than to try to make the band look good. Oh, he'll be along at any minute. He usually maybe runs a little late, but this is usually a little later than normal for him. Okay, 9 o'clock comes, he's still not there. 5 after 9, he's not there. 10 after 9 is not there. Now I'm getting pissed. I'm about to lose it now. Okay, and so now I'm the other, representative for the black part of the band, trying to get an answer for this idiot, and I have no idea what's going on with him. So it's 20 after 9. Ron is about ready to fire him, and I'm right with him. Yay! We can get me on time. So here comes Don finally at 20 after 9. We're trying. Yeah, he did.
You don't dare say anything because he'll give you the stink eye.
That's right. That's exactly right. Like, I appreciate it if you get off my back about it, you know, kind of attitude. So I'm livid. What is wrong with you? Where have you been? We don't even have time to discuss it because we got to get on the stage and now, okay? So we go through this gig, and it was a good gig and everything, but the introduction at Martha's tour, first opening night, is me mad at this guy, and I want to go and kill him after the gig. And we go back to the room, of course, and I have to room with him, talking to him, and I'm trying to figure out, your priorities were actually looking at baseball. And then this is when Bill and them guys had to come up to him, you know, he was a good baseball player when he was young. He played baseball, and he was really into baseball. Well, what's he doing with a base? Okay, after that, he's going to be a bass player. No, this baseball stuff is over with. Oh, no, as I got to know Don, he followed baseball no matter what and where we were throughout this whole tour. So it was a eye-opening experience for me, which was just fantastic and great. Later on, which is really weird, was because Ron Strasner managed all these groups, offered me a gig with Rare Earth. So I went and started playing with Rare Earth and recorded an album, all at Motown, this whole bit. While coming back to Springfield, these guys were still trying to write tunes. We're writing tunes, we're going over to Patsy Connie's at the Dungeon, or the, what's the one on Glenstone, the name of the studio? American Artists, that's right. And American Artists over there. And so our thing was always to try to get tunes, to see if we can get us a deal, this sort of thing. And so all during this time that I'm back here, they get Ike Stubblefield, I think, is playing. And one of these particular trips that I come home, which was back here in Springfield, we had, I'm trying to think, that place you guys was playing on that, by that cemetery on Glenstone, Seminole, that's right, that club that was on Seminole. Phase 3, that's what it was, Phase 3. And we were over there playing, and so Ike was there and everybody was there, and this kind of leads up to Ralph Tolles, who was another friend of mine, loved Granny's. We would come to Memphis, and all these musicians would come out, and a lot of friends of mine and a lot of people that one guy taught at Berkeley, keyboard player I love, his name's James Williams, and Donald Brown. These guys, we got to be fans. So they'd come and hear the band, and we'd talk all sorts of music stuff and the tunes that we were playing. We started playing our original songs off the stage, and I mean, you know, folks was like, oh my goodness. They like fell in love with the band, just like I did. It was like, oh my God, when are you guys going to be doing a record deal, this and that and the other? So this was always our goal in mind, to try to get some recording deal somewhere. And so these things would be going on. And Larry Lee said, finally, we're going to go over to Ardent Studios in Memphis, and we're going to do a demo, okay? And so Larry got Stan Plusser, Glenn Johns, remember, at A&M. And I had to take, when I was with Rare Earth living in L.A., go visit Glenn Johns, take him the tape. We sit down and listen to it. Glenn was, you know, pretty impressed. He said, you know, we needed to do some things to make things commercial, this and that and the other. Great. So I'm coming home with this news. So they're playing over to Phase 3. I'm going over to talk to Bunge, this and that, and tell them, okay, this is what happened with Stan Plusser. We probably need to do some more tunes and this and that. But he liked it, okay? So then they were going in the studio, I think, probably a week or two, I think, before the accident. Down Ragged and all those tunes, Louie, all those tunes, and everybody was here doing all these tunes. So the last mix had not been done yet. Patrick Connie had it still. I had played Glenn, and he heard the stuff from Memphis that Larry got us going on. So he was real interested. Coming back to the Springfield, Missouri at Phase 3, and this was the night that Ralph Tolles, Mike, Rick, and Jason got into the accident, and it was for me, it was like my whole life had changed. Everything that we had all worked for, all of these things that we had all worked for seemed to be right so close, and then they're gone. And it's like, you know, there are things that can happen to you that will alter your life. And a lot of these things for me were all for the good, all help everyone in this group. All these men sitting up here and doing our music all helped us grow up to be men and understand the relationships that we have. When we out there on that road, it was us against the world. And we'd go to these places sometimes where they didn't want Don and I there. And I never, ever would see, I never wanted to make Mike Bunge. Mike could have, don't piss him off. That guy had that voice, and it would get real high up in it and shout, and it would cut through glass even. Oh, it cut through. So it was like we would go to these places. They say, no, you can't come. You can't bring those guys in here. Mike would get so ticked off. He'd go. Guy pulled a shotgun on Mike this time. Mike, I'd grab it. Mike, we need to leave right now because they don't want to say, I don't give a rat's. You SOB, pulling this guy away from this situation to try to get us out of here. This group of guys were about the closest to family that you're ever gonna have. And it was like I was the kid. So I had all these older brothers, pretty much. And this guy here, God, don't really tick him off either, because with his attitude and his size, okay, Larry and Mike, both of those people being pissed off at you, you did not really want that. And so this was a great experience for me through all of the things that we went through. And still today, as you can see, it's 30, 40 years later, we're still hanging out like brothers and pick up the phone and go, hey, what's going on? Love ya. So this is the kind of stuff that makes men grow up to be men. And you folks out here, bless your heart, you all know these things. You've seen us happening and playing when we were young, okay? And this is what we are now. So, sorry.
My name is Larry Lee, and thank you, Lloyd. I had a kind of a short tenure with Granny's Bathwater as far as playing. I went in the Navy for about 4 years, and when I got out in 1970, Mike Bunge picked me up at the airport. And he was he was my best friend through high school and everything. It's hard to talk about him, actually. Anyway, he picked me up at the airport and said, there's a gig tonight. Our band's playing. Not me to play, but he said, do you want to go? And I said, absolutely, I want to go. And it was Lloyd and Dave. Sorry, it took me a minute. Yeah, Lloyd and Dave and Lloyd. Let's see, Lloyd, Dave, and John.
John Golan.
Yeah, no, John Dillon.
Dillon.
Yeah, and Michael. Anyway, it was at some party house. It was a fraternity party. Drunk, and that's the first place that Mike introduced me to the evil weed, and so they were playing blues stuff at that point. And that summer, when I got back, he had the keys to American Artist, which was a studio. And I told him, Mike, I've been writing songs while I've been gone. I don't know if they're any good or not, but maybe we could go in the studio one night and play, see if we could do anything. So we went in and cut one song, and then we went in and cut 3 or 4 other ones. And then there was this girl here in town named Teresa Van Fleet, which was a wonderful singer. And I got her to come in and start singing because I didn't really like the way I sang. And from that point, it went in through the summer. We were doing that, and then that festival happened, and Mike said, you know, I'm thinking about bringing in some horns and kind of changing, not going back to the 7 days, but, you know, kind of doing something like that. Would you want to play in that? And I said, well, of course I would, you know. So Lloyd and I once again played musical chairs. We switched off, and that festival, actually, Lloyd and I both played at, I think, at the same time. And then that fall, we started doing the grannies with the horns, and played at the warehouse and some places like that. I did that for about 6 or 8 months, and then I decided, I was living out at the ranch, and anybody knew what the ranch was like. You know, I was going, you know, I don't think I can live much longer out here. So I moved back home, and at that same time, Steve Canada and Kurt Hargis came up to me and said, look, we found a building. I think we're going to build a club. And I said, well, I could use employment. You know, I can sling a hammer. And so we went down and built the new Bijou Theater. And grannies would come down there and play. And I was down there one night, and Randall Channing came in and said, hey, I know you write songs, I write songs, I know John Dillon writes songs. Let's get together and see what happens. And then that all started at the same time. But I have to say that the Granny's Bathwater was probably the best band I ever got to witness. I mean, I would go to, yes, absolutely. In all the different incarnations that they had, because there was a lot of wonderful musicians that played in that band. And there were nights that I would go to Sweetwater and some places like that. Yeah. That were just magic how good they were. I mean, the best band I've ever seen in this town, and probably one of the best bands I've ever seen. But anyway, I'm honored to be up here with these guys. I'm honored that I'm their friends, and they touch my lives. Their music touched my lives, and a lot of people out here touch my lives that I get to see again today. So thank you very much for coming. I'm going to hand this to Dave.
Okay. My name's Dave Pease. I'll make this fairly short because I know we're running out of time. Oh, thank you, thank you. It's so good to look out here, all these people out here. Many I haven't seen so far. My question is, when did the hell did you all get so old? God almighty. Anyway, Eddie Bunge's been one of my best friends, God, since high school, about 1959 is probably when we met. He was playing trumpet and I was playing bass. Anyway, as he said, he got out of the Navy in December of '64, I believe, and I got out of the Marine Corps. And we got hooked up together, and he says, hey, man, I'm on the road with this crazy guy, Wayne Carson. He's a great songwriter and entertainer. He says, I think you ought to try to play bass. And I did, and boy, could we tell some stories there. Anyway. And Eddie and I got together, Jerry Hendricks with the trio. You remember the old King's Inn downstairs and the Swords and all that stuff? We played down there for about a year with Leslie Fleener, who was Miss Missouri of that year. And God, I've been so fortunate to play with such great musicians, all these guys, and played many years with Benny Mahan, and there's some more stories. I was on the road several times with Larry Getz, and I have learned that Larry has cloven hooves, so watch out for him. Cloven hooves. Anyway, I was like I say with the old original band, and we were doing blues. John Dillon was bringing up tunes like stuff from Memphis Minnie and Milk Cow Blues. My favorite was
I'm your crosscut saw, baby, let me drag you across your log. And stuff like that. And then I got a phone call from Panama City, Florida again. Getz and Bobby Threadgill and Lance, not wrong, Chocolate. Tom Chocolate was playing down there, and it was really good bucks at the time. So I says, boys, I can't turn this down. It's right on the beach. So I did, and that's when Don Chips took over for bass for Granny's and played the entire time, I guess, up until his untimely death. And I think the only good thing about that was, well, it's not a good thing. For some reason, it dawned on me to put together a New Orleans type funeral band, which some of these guys were in. And I got, Clark Kent Pike. Yeah. to be the guy out in front with the, he was about 6'6" anyway, and he's got the umbrella and the top hat. He was absolutely perfect. And over at the side of the Catholic church over there, we went off down the street playing, and it was some slow tune I can't remember. And I think we went into Didn't He Ramble or something, as God intended, So yeah, I can't remember, but anyway, I like to think that. Yeah. I like to think we sent Don off, and he might have smiled on that one. And I think so much of all the musicians we have lost in this town that just went way too soon. I mean, you all know who they were, and this town, even from back in the old days, 20s, 30s, has such an abundance of fantastic musicians and talent. And there's also been a lot of shitty musicians in this town, but and there say two of them, Nick and Rule, right over there. So yeah. So anyway, thank you all, and I don't know, Lloyd, did you want to say something? Or?
Hey. Look at this. I'm mobile. Oh, man. I'm okay? Okay. I came down here to college in '65 to the big city of Springfield, Missouri. And, within a week, I'd met Tim Burroughs and Bud Van Fleet, or Van Hook, and Lord Mack and the Checkmates was the first band I was in within a week of being here. And there was a guy in my 8 o'clock theory class, Mike Bunge, who would sit next to me and copy my papers. And we hit it off really well. I finally saw his band, Louie and the 7 Days. They were playing at the tobacco department at Katz. They had them up on a riser or maybe the cases, but I was there with Mac and somebody at Donnie Hallworth or somebody. Come on, going on. No, I gotta watch these guys. The next morning at school, I saw Mike. It just blew me away. He just became my best friend. We were together so much that, there were rumors around campus. But, oh man, and like you said, this Springfield's flypaper. I've been in Memphis with these guys. I've lived in Nashville and New York and California, and you just come back here because this is home, man. And all these guys, and the stories could go on and on and on. I got a few on Larry too, but anyway, we never made any money when I was in the band, and I was doing the books. And yeah. And we never made any money, you know, but we stuck together. And it would just be, you know, the Scarecrow in Dothan, Alabama or something, you know. And they want us to learn some Chicago songs, God damn it. You know? And that was the first one. That was the first one we learned. Yeah. Anyway, we would go through hell. I mean, but we were young, and we're in New York City with Martha, doing 10 nights at the Baby Blue Mist Lounge in Jamaican Queens, and nobody was there. I mean, for 10 nights. One night, the Jamaican embassy had a dinner. Other than that, it was just waiters standing against the wall looking at us, you know. And we had 2 motel rooms, 9 guys in the band. Martha had her room, and her manager had his room. We would pull the double mattresses off the box springs, and 9 guys stayed in 2 rooms for 10 days. And and we go out and collect pop bottles. It was winter time, and we just stuck together. It'll be better. We got Alan Lynn's coming up, or we got this coming up. And we just kept riding it out and kept riding it out and riding it out. Huh? Good night. Yeah, this has been a long, and you've all stayed, which is wonderful. But this lasted longer than some incarnations of the band. But thank you all for coming. Here you go.
We're going to stay a little bit longer, folks, for questions. The cameraman is stopping. That's why we wanted to get everybody on here.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, any questions?
What do you want?
I moved back to Springfield about 1975. It is flypaper. I haven't left since. But I have to say that the band, Granny's Bathwater, was not just the best band ever. These were the best guys. They always had a smile on their face. They'd always give you a hug. Oh, Kathy, it's good to see you. Whatever. It didn't matter if I was skinny that week or fat. They were always glad to see me. And I can't tell you how much that in and of itself meant to me, and I'm sure to everybody else. They are the best.